Question 1. Use a calculator to work out this. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. Give your answer as a decimal. To do this, we need to press the square root of 20.4, the divide button, and then the bottom of this needs to be in brackets, as shown. That will give you an answer of 1.5176868 for all of the calculator display. Question 2. Reflect shape P in the line y equals x. For this, you can use tracing paper. If you want to use tracing paper, make sure you draw on the reflection line and also mark the origin when you flip it over. However, I have done this by counting squares diagonally. So this corner is going to go 1.5 squares to the mirror line, another 1.5 squares out the other side. Half a square, 2 squares, 2 squares, and draw your shape in. Part B, describe fully the single transformation, that's very important, that maps A onto B. So we're starting with A and we're moving on to B. You'll notice that the shape is in the exact same orientation, so it must be a translation. I've chosen the bottom right hand corner and I'm going to count how to get from shape A to shape B. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 down and 1, 2 left. The vector for this is 2 left, so -2 on top, and -4 for 4 down on the bottom. The top number is left and right, the bottom number is up and down. There are 2 marks, one for the word translation, one for the vector. Question 3. A company sells boxes to factories. Fred buys boxes. The boxes are sold in packs of 1,000 and each pack costs £193.86. Fred orders 3 packs of boxes and he gets a discount on his total order, according to this table. Work out the total cost of that order after the discount. So 3 boxes at £193.86 is £581.58. If you pay £581.58 for £401 and over, you get a 15% discount. The best way to do this is to multiply by 0.85. That is 15% off a whole one. Or you can multiply by 0.15 and take that off. That will give you an answer of £494.343, which is £494.34. Question 4. Complete a pie chart showing the birds in this frequency table. The first thing we need to do is figure out how many birds were counted. So if we add up the frequency column, we get 72. If we divide 360 degrees, which is a full circle, by 72, we find that each bird is worth 5 degrees of this pie chart. If there are 15 magpies, we times that by 5, and each of those by 5 to get the angle for that section. I can just do a little check to make sure that these add up to 360 to make sure that I've got them all correct. We then must use a protractor to measure these. The first section, magpie, is done for you. We can measure that section just to check that we were right as well. So if you notice, we're dead on 75 there, so I must have been correct in my working out. We then measure each section from that line onwards. So you can move your paper around if you wish. I'm just going to do it as I go around. So again, 50, 100, and then the remainder should be 135. Again, I'm going to measure that to check that I'm correct. And as you can see, I'm dead on 135, so I must be correct. Question 5. A, B and C are 3 service stations on a motorway. A, B and B, C are both 25 miles apart as shown. Aisha drives along the motorway from A to C at 50 miles per hour and from B to C at 60 miles per hour. Work out the difference, which is very important, in time it takes from A to B and B to C. Give your answer in minutes. We know that speed equals distance divided by time. So if we rearrange that, take t on the other side, we multiply and then divide by s, we get t equals d divided by s. From A to B, she was travelling 25 miles at 50 miles per hour, which is 0.5 hours. And if we multiply that by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, that's 30 minutes. From B to C, 25 miles, but at 60 miles per hour, is 0.416 recurring hours. Again, if we multiply that by 60, leave that in your calculator so you don't have to put it back in. We get 25 minutes. The difference, therefore, is 5 minutes. You get 1 mark for each of these. Question 6. ABCD is a parallelogram. All the angles are labelled on the diagram. Calculate the size of angle x given reasons. The first thing that you need to notice is that angle ADC must be 60 degrees. The reason for that is, if DAB is 120, then co-interior angles on parallel lines add up to 180. You can also explain that opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal and make them add up to 360. Therefore, if ADC is 60, then EDC must be 22, because 60 take away 38 is 22. There's no need to write a reason for that. The working out is fine. Angle DEC must be 180 take away 41, because this is a straight line and this angle here is 41, leaving that angle must be 139, and my reason for that would be because angles on a straight line add up to 180. Therefore, X must be 180 take away these two angles, because angles in a triangle add up to 180. Therefore, the answer is 19 degrees. Now, there's only 4 marks for this question. There are 2 marks for your parts of working out, 1 for the final answer and 1 for getting these two correct, 22 and 139. And then there are 2 marks for these all 3 of the explanations. So any 2 of the explanations will get 1 mark. All 3 would get you the second mark. Question 7. 160 centimetres of gold wire has a weight of 17.8 grams. Work out the weight of 210 centimetres. So 17.8 divided by 160 means that each centimetre weighs 0.11125 grams. 0.11125 times 210 gives us 23.3625 grams. Question 8. N is an integer. Integer means a whole number. List all the possible values of n. This means that n can be anywhere from -1 to 4, but it can be equal to -1 because of this extra line here, but not equal to 4. So my values are -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. Write down the inequality shown on the diagram. Again, you can use the letter n. I've used x here. It doesn't matter which letter you use. I've used it purely because it's on. They've used it there. Goes from -4 to 3. An empty circle means it can't be equal to, so we don't need the line under here. And a coloured in circle means it can be equal to, so we do need a line under there. Solve 3y minus 2 is greater than 5. Well, if we add 2 to both sides, we get 3y is greater than 7. Divide both sides by 3, we get y is greater than 7 over 3. You perfectly happily leave that as it is, or you can convert that to 2 1/3. Question 9. The 7-leaf diagram gives information about the numbers of tomatoes on 31 tomato plants. If we note the key here, 5/7 equals 57 tomatoes. So work out the median. If there are 31 tomatoes, that means we can fit 15 on one side and 15 on the other. So if I count along 15 places to there, I count backwards 15 to here, that means that that number is in the middle. So that stands for 32 tomatoes. Work out the interquartile range. That's like finding the lower quartile is like finding the middle of the bottom half. So again, of these 15 below, you can fit 7 on one side and 7 on the other. So if I count along 7 and count backwards 7 from the middle, we'll find that 21 is the lower quartile. And do the same for the upper quartile, we'll find that 45 is the upper quartile. The interquartile range is the difference between these two. So subtract them from each other, we get 24. Question 10. In the UK, petrol costs £1.24 per litre. In the USA, petrol costs $3.15 per US gallon. 1 US gallon is 3.79 litres and a pound is $1.47. Which is cheaper? Now, there are several ways to do this. I have chosen to find out the cost of a gallon. So £1.24 times £3.79 is £4.69 and 9.96 of a penny per gallon. Again, I'm going to use all of this. I'm not going to round until I get to the end. And then if I divide that by 1.47, I will convert from pounds to dollars, which is $3.19 and 0.7 of a cent per gallon. Therefore, it is cheaper in the US compared to the 3.15. Question 11. The diagram shows a cube and a cuboid. All the measurements are in centimetres. The volume of the cube is 100 centimetres cubed more than the volume of the cuboid. That's very important. Show that x cubed minus 10x equals 100. Well, the volume of the cube is x times x times x, and the volume of the cuboid is 2 times 5 times x plus 100 if they're equal to each other. Simplifying that, we get x cubed is equal to 10x plus 100, and rearrange that to the 10x on the other side, we get x cubed minus 10x equals 100. Part B, use a trial and improvement method to find the value of x. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. It's really important when you're doing trial and improvement to 1 decimal place that actually you work it out to 2. That is a test at the end, and you get an actual mark for that in the exam. So I started off here by choosing x to be 5, which gives me 75, and then x to be 6, which was 156. So I can see that that gives me somewhere between 100, either side of 100. I then chose 5.5, which gives me this, which was too big. 5.4 gives me this, which again is too big. 5.3 gives me this, which was too small. So I know that my answer must be between 5.3 and 5.4. I therefore use 5.35, which is halfway between these two, as a check. Because that is too small, then 5.4 must be closest. So the final answer will be 5.4. Here, you get a mark for doing any of these two, any of these, and this one, for the 3 marks, and your 4th mark is for choosing 5.4. Question 12. The frequency table gives information about the times it took some office workers to get to the office one day. This means that 4 people took between 0 and 10 minutes, 8 between 10 and 20, and so on. Draw a frequency polygon for this information. A frequency polygon, we plot the points in the middle of the group. So for the 0 to 10, we actually plot it at 5, noticing that it's only each little square is worth 2, so we must go exactly halfway. And each little square is worth 1 on the side, so that's a little bit easier. So the first point should be there at 5, 4. The next one should be at 15, 8, 25, 14, 35, 16, 45, 6, and 55, 2. These are then joined up with a ruler with straight lines between each cross. Write down the modal class interval. Modal is the same as mode, so we're finding the one with the most in. There are 16 people, took between 30 and 40 minutes, so that's the most time. So the answer is 30 to 40. One of the office workers is chosen at random. Work out the probability that this office worker took more than 40 minutes to get to the office. Well, more than 40 minutes is these 2 bottom groups. So there were 8 members of staff that took longer than that. And if we add them all up, we get that there were 50 staff altogether. So the answer is 8 out of 50. You could cancel that to 4 out of 25, but there wasn't a mark for that. Question 13. The diagram shows a solid triangular prism. The prism is made from metal. The density of the metal is 6.6 grams per centimetre cubed. Calculate the mass. The first thing we need to do is work out the volume. So the volume of a prism is worked out by the area of the cross section multiplied by how far back it goes, the depth of the shape. So 12 times 5 divided by 2 is the area of the front triangle, base times height and half it. And then we times it by the depth, which is 15, gives us 450 centimetres cubed. We are then told that each centimetre cubed is worth 6.6 grams, so we do 6.6 times 450. You actually got a mark for writing that down. So 1 mark, 2 marks, and your 3rd mark is for 2,970. Question 14a. Factorise x squared plus 7x. You'll notice that the only common factor in here is x. So if we pull x outside the brackets, to get back to x squared we need another x, and to get back to 7x we need a 7. Factorise y squared minus 10y plus 16. Because it's a quadratic, we're going to need 2 sets of brackets. Because it's a y squared at the start, we're going to need y and y. And because it's a positive number on the end, but a negative amount of y's, both of them are going to have to be minuses. To get these 2 numbers, we then look at 2 numbers that multiply to the negative 16 and add together to give 10. So that's 2 and 8. It doesn't matter if you have y minus 2, y minus 8. You can do it either way around. Factorise 2t squared plus 5t plus 2. This time, we're going to need, again it's a quadratic, so we need 2 sets of brackets. We're going to need 2t in the first bracket and a t in the second one to get the 2t squared. The numbers at the end are then going to be a 1 and a 2, because the only way of getting 2 is by multiplying 1 by 2. To choose which bracket they go into, we look at this part here, this term here. So because it's 5t, to be able to get 5, we need to do 2t times 2. So we must put the 2 in the bracket with the t on its own. and the 1 in the bracket with the 2t. That's it factorised. It says t is a positive whole number. The expression 2t squared plus 5t plus 2 can never have a value that is a prime number. Explain why. Well, a prime number is any number that has exactly 2 factors, where one of the factors is 1 and the second factor is itself. So, since 2t squared plus 5t plus 2 equals this when we factorise it, and t is a positive whole number, as we are told here, then this is always going to be a product of 2 whole numbers, each of which must be greater than 1. Because if these are positive, each of these are going to be greater than 1. Therefore, it can never be a prime number. Question 15. Calculate the length of AC. If ABCD is a trapezium, then we know that BC and this extra point here that I've just created, ED, will be parallel to each other. Therefore, we can use this triangle here to work out the length of ED, which will be the same as BC. ED, therefore, is 10 squared, take away this length here. If this is 3 and the full section here is 9, then 9 take away 3 is 6. So 10 squared take away 6 squared, and square rooted gives us 8 for this side here, which will be the same as BC. AC is from here to here. So now we have BC, and we know that this side is 9. We can then work out AC by doing 9 squared plus 8 squared and square rooting, which gives us 12.0 to 3 significant figures. You'll notice I've put my full calculator display. The reason for that is, if you round incorrectly, you will still get full marks if you put this down. If you round correctly, it's fine anyway, but always make sure that you write down your full calculator display. Question 16. Bill's weight decreases from 64.8 kilograms to 59.3. Calculate the percentage decrease in Bill's weight to 3 significant figures. To calculate a percentage decrease, we need to know the difference, so 64.8 take away 59.3, and divide that by the original, which was 64.8, and times it by 100 to convert it to a percentage. That will give me this. To 3 significant figures, that would be 8.49. Again, I have written this to the full calculator display so that I don't lose any marks in case I ran incorrectly there. Question 17. Calculate the value of x. X is a missing side on a right-angled triangle where we have an angle involved. Therefore, we must be using trigonometry. Trigonometry, I use SOHCAHTOA to remember how to use it. So in this case, with this angle, we've got the opposite side, which we're after, and we are given the hypotenuse. Therefore, we must be using sin. That means sin 60 is equal to x, the opposite, divided by 32, the hypotenuse. X, therefore, is 32 times sin 60, which is 27.7128. Again, writing my full calculator display, which will round to 3 significant figures, 27.7. Question 18. Complete the table of values for y equals 6 over x. Again, you've got to calculate for this, but 6 divided by 0.5 is 12. 3 divided by 0.5, sorry, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 6 divided by 5 is 1.2. If we plot these points on our graph very accurately, we notice that each little square is worth 0.2. So you've got to be very careful when you're doing the 1.5 one there. It goes halfway between 2 squares. And then this one's fine and this one's fine. And we join it up as best as we can with a pencil through all the points with a smooth curve. You must not sketch through there. It must be accurate through the points. On the grid, draw this graph. We've done that. That's where we finished off. Question 19. Rob is learning about the planets. Rob makes a model of the sun. He also makes a model of the planet Jupiter. Rob is going to hang the 2 models in the school hall. Rob wants a distance of 16 metres between the 2 models, and the real distance between Jupiter and the Sun is 8 times 10 to the 8 kilometres. Work out the scale that Rob should use in the form of 1 to n. Well, to start with, we've got 16 metres in the ratio of 8 times 10 to the 8 kilometres. We need to convert this into metres so that they're both the same units. So we know there's 1,000 metres in a kilometre, so it's 16 to 8 times 10 to the 8 times 1,000. Which we can simplify that to 8 times 10 to the 11. If we then divide both sides by 16, we get 1 metre must be in the ratio of 5 times 10 to the 10 metres. Final mark. Question 20. Simplify x plus 1 over 2 plus x plus 3 over 3. Just like adding normal fractions, we need a common denominator. So if we multiply this first fraction by 3, we get 3 brackets x plus 1 over 6. Multiply the second one by 2, we get 2 brackets x plus 3 over 6. Expanding these brackets and putting it together, we get 3x plus 3 plus 2x plus 6 over 6. And simplify this together, we get 5x's plus 9 over 6. Full marks. Question 21. Here are 7 tiles. Jim takes at random a tile. He does not replace the tile. That's the important part. Jim then takes a random second tile. Calculate the probability that both the tiles Jim takes have the number 1 on them. Well, to start with, the probability of getting a 1 is 2/7. Once that tile has come out, we've actually only got a probability of 1/6 for the second tile. And because we want both of these events to happen, we want 2/7 times 1/6, which is 2 over 42. There was no mark for cancelling down here, but you could have cancelled down to 1 over 21. Part B, calculate the probability that the number on the second tile Jim takes is greater than the number on the first tile. Well, the ways of doing this is if the first tile is a 1, the probability will be 2/7. And then the second tile can either be a 2 or a 3, of which there will be 5 tiles out of 6 altogether. So this is the first way of doing it. The second way of doing it is by choosing a 2 first. The probability of getting a 2 is 3 out of 7. And then you must get a 3 after that, which is only 2 out of the 6 remaining tiles. 2/7 times 5/6 is 10 over 42. And 3/7 times 2/6 is 6 over 42. Adding those together, we get 16 over 42. Or cancelling down to 8 over 21. Again, no mark for that. But 1 mark for that, 1 mark for that, and 1 mark for that. Question 22. Solve 2x squared plus 9x minus 7 equals 0. Give your solutions correct to 3 significant figures. This is a big clue that we're going to have to use the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula says x equals minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's on the front of your formula sheet. B is the number in front of the x's, a is the number in front of the x squared, and c is the number at the end. So here, if we substitute those in, minus b is minus 9, plus or minus a square root of 9 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is minus 7, all over 2a, which is 2 times 2. Separating that out and simplifying the square root, I get minus 9 plus the square root of 137 over 4, or minus 9 minus the square root of 137 over 4. When you put that into your calculator, it's really important that the top is in brackets. Either that or press equals after you've worked out the top and then divide by 4. And you'll get these two as your answer. Part B, solve 2 over y squared plus 9 over y minus 7 equals 0. Again, here, it looks very difficult, but if you notice, this is the exact same equation as the top one. We have just got that y is 1 over x. So here, if we can use the solution to this one, as if x is 0.676, then y will be 1 over 0.676. And for that one, it'll be 1 over that. And again, if you work these out in your calculator, you get 1.48 or minus 0.193. Question 23. The diagram shows a pyramid. BCDE is a square with sides of length 10 centimetres. The other face of the pyramid are equilateral triangles with sides of length 10 centimetres. Calculate the volume of the pyramid. Give your answers to 3 significant figures. The volume of a pyramid is given by a third times the area of the base times the height. If you struggle to remember that, the volume of a cone is on the front of the exam paper, but the base will be pi r squared. You've just got to remember that for a square base one, you work out the area of the square. The problem here is working out the height. I've taken the centre of the square directly below the centre of the pyramid to be O. So if OB squared plus OC squared gives us 10 squared using this right angled triangle here, 10 squared is 100, and therefore OB squared must be 50. There's no point square rooting that just yet because we're going to put that into another formula later. Now we can work out AO, which is the height of the pyramid. So AO squared is equal to AB squared, the hypotenuse here, minus BO squared there, or OB squared. AB squared, AB is 10, so that's 100, and OB squared we've just worked out to be 50. So AO squared must be 50. Therefore, the volume of this pyramid will be a third times the area of the base, which is 10 squared, times the height, which is root 50. So because AO squared is 50, so the height will be root 50. And we work that out to three significant figures is 236. Find the size of angle DAB. So DAB is the roof of this pyramid here. We know that AO, so A to O there, is equal to O to B. We'll just work that out up here. So OB squared and AO squared are both the same. So AO and OB must be the same. Therefore, this here, this right angled triangle here, is actually an isosceles right angled triangle, meaning that ABO must be 45 degrees. Therefore, ADO must also be 45 degrees because this is symmetrical. And therefore, DAB, using this big triangle here, if that's 45 and that's 45, then that must be 90 across the top because it angles the triangle up to 180. Question 24. The table gives information about the heights, h meters, of trees in a wood. Draw a histogram for this information. To draw a histogram, because the groups are not equal, that's got a group size of 2, 2, 4, 8 and 4, we must find the frequency density. So the frequency density is given by the frequency divided by the width of the group. So I've done 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 for the frequency density for the first group. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 18 divided by 4 is 4.5. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. For a histogram, we then plot the frequency density up the side. So we need to go up as far as 7. There's enough space to go up to 8, so I'm going to go up to 8. And along the bottom, we need to go from 0 to 20. Now, there's not enough space to use one square per one, so I've had to go up in twos. For 0 to 2, the frequency density is 3.5, so 0 to 2, I go up to 3.5. For 2 to 4, it is 7. 4 to 8 is 4.5. 8 to 16 is 3. And 16 to 20 is 2.5. Don't forget to label your axes for that. Question 25. The diagram shows the triangle PQR. If PQ is x and PR is 2x and the angle QPR is 30 degrees, show that the area of the triangle, the area of the triangle is a centimetre squared, show that x is equal to the square root of 2a. Well, using the formula in front of your exam sheet, the area of the triangle is a half AB sine C. So the area of the triangle is A is equal to a half times 2x times x times sin 30, putting the values in. That's a half times 2x squared, putting this together, and sin 30 is 0.5. 0.5 times 2x squared is just x squared, so we're left with a half x squared. And then rearrange that, take the half on the other side, it becomes 2a, and then square root, we get x is equal to the square root of 2a. Just be careful, you shouldn't write below this line on your exam sheet because these are actually scanned in for the examiners to mark and they won't scan below that line. I've just done that to show you the full method clearly. That's the end of the paper.